Alright, so what we can do is we can change our celestial vector now into what we need it to be. So let's think about that. So compute time of day for daytime. What we're going to do is we're going to want to set our celestial vector to the right thing. So let's do our set for celestial vector. Okay, so for our vector, our y-axis is okay. So x is 1, and basically our z is going to be I'll just write this down real quick. Our z is going to be our angle plus, yeah, it's going to be the time of day. Basically, it's going to go from 0 to 1 to 0 based on our angle. So in the time of day here, we're going to go from 0 to 1. So we're going to, what's a good name for this variable? The height? I guess section height or phase height. Alright, so if the time of day, alright, we need to compute the phase height. So the phase height is going to be we need to go from 0 to 1, and then from 1 to 0. So we could go from 0 to 1, like in terms of our total time. And we need to go totally behind the horizon during this time. Alright, we'll deal with that when we get to it. Because we want to basically get this thing all the way out. So if we went from 0 to 1 for the entire time, it goes from 1 to 0.5 to 1, and then we go from 0 to 1, we subtract 0.5 from it, so now we're negative 0.5 to 0.5. And then we just multiply by 2. Yeah, let's just take our time of day. What we want to do is divide the time of day. So we'll do an add. So time of day plus so time of day plus sunrise. Then we want to subtract time of day plus sunrise. No, it's time of day minus sunrise. And then we want another subtract. We want sunset minus sunrise. So we do a divide here. Basically, that'll give us a value between 0 and 1. And let's do a subtract. So it'll be this minus 0.5. So we're from negative 0.5 to positive 0.5. Alright, so we're going to set basically phase width and phase height. Well, we got our rise angle, and we're going to multiply. So the phase width is going to start at negative 0.5. Basically, we're going to multiply not the rise angle, but the rise angle by 2. And then we're going to multiply that by this thing. So that's going to give us the angle that we are at left and right. So that's going to go from, the full angle to 0 to the full angle again. So phase width is going to be set right there. And the phase height is going to go from, if this goes from 0 to 1 right here before this, we want it to go from 0 to 1 to 0. So is it like 0.5 minus this thing? So it'll be 0.5 minus this value, which is going to go from negative 0.5. So it'll be 0, and then it'll go to 0.5, and then it will go to blah. So we want to do the height angle. We want to multiply that by 2. We can add pins. Alright, so 2.0. We can just combine some of these things actually. Like this. And that's going to be our phase height. Alright, and then we're going to want to actually set these things, right? So this is going to be our phase width. So we have a rise angle, which is going to be 15, and our height angle, which is 15. So what do we want? The cosine of the value? So it's gonna cosine in degrees of this thing. And that's going to go from, that's going to start at what? 90 degrees. It's going to be starting at 1, and it's going to go to 0. Do we care about the cosine at all? Like, I mean, this is going to go from a large angle to a small angle. I mean, I guess we should compute a point as opposed to doing the rest of this stuff. Is we should be taking this vector and basically multiplying it out, right? Because it's basically saying, like, we should take this thing, and that's going to be the y of the vector. I mean, we could also do this yaw pitch sort of thing. Maybe that's all we need is this yaw pitch sort of thing with a length, and just be like, we're good. Alright, so the time of day is like that. Yeah, that's not what we want. Getting closer, of course, but not really what we want. Alright, so alright, so time of day minus sunrise. And then we have sunset minus sunrise. So if we divide those and subtract 0.5, we can't put a breakpoint on any of this. Well, basically we want to, it's supposed to be a yaw and pitch sort of situation. We want to make a rotator based on that. We want to rotate a vector. Alright, so if we have our rotator here, and we want to rotate. We want to rotate a vector. We're going to rotate this x vector, and we're going to return that and set our celestial vector to it. So it's doing the same thing. Can we even breakpoint this? No, it's not letting us. I don't like it that it doesn't let us breakpoint things in constructor scripts. It's kind of annoying as all hell. I mean, is it basically unless we're playing? So if I hit the play button, nah, same thing. It doesn't actually call the constructor script because it doesn't need to. It shortcuts it because Unreal. So we need to info log it. Height is alright. So clear our log and let's set this to noon. So noon is 12. Height is 15, width is 0. That's true. Alright, let's set it to 630. Height is 30, width is negative 15. That's not right. So when we concentrate, the width should be negative 15. That's true. Alright, so what's it at sunset, which is 17.5? Height is 0, width is 15. So the width is correct, the height is wrong. Also looks like we got our stuff swapped. The height should be 0 actually right there. So what is it at 12? The height is 15? And at 6.5, at 630, the height is 30. So the height's wrong, but the height should be 0. But instead of the height being 0, it's 30. So I think we should be taking the absolute value here. So it should be going like this. Alright, so it's 6.5. The height is 0.27 and the width is negative 14. Alright, that's looking correct. And at noon, the height is 15, the width is 0. So let's take a look at this. It goes from... So it rises just fine, and then it goes the wrong way. The height goes from 0 to 15, and then the height goes down, and the width is increasing. Well, let's just figure it out real quick. Alright, so this is the width. This should control the width properly for us. So 6.5 should control the width. This should mean that this thing goes to the left and right, which it is not doing. So that is the wrong thing. So let's see if we can get it to be the right thing. So it goes from 6.5 to 17.5. The width is negative 15. And then it goes from 6.5 to noon to 17.5. 17.5. So those are the two that it goes between. Alright, so that looks okay. So that's yaw. So this is yaw. Alright, so phase height, should that be pitch then? Alright, so 6.5 goes like that. Noon is 6.5. Noon is here. And sunset is over there. So let's see what that looks like. Well, obviously it's a little bit too linear in that it's the right idea, but it's like that's not how the sun works. It's a curve. Alright, so what if we change it so the yaw also adds the height? What the fuck? Oh, I guess the negative values are coming together. Well, maybe we're not supposed to be doing this. It should be like roll or something like that as opposed to pitch. So let's try that. Pitch isn't doing anything. I think I want just basic, I want like basic rotation math. I don't actually want the quaternion math. I want to pinch an axis and then rotate it again. So it's kind of funny. So I'm actually like I think what I want is not the actual rotator thing. I just want like the vector needs to be like we need to like make a vector here, and this phase height goes from 0 to 15, so it should be actually the angle, and the z should be this. So we're actually doing like the sine of the angle. So let's see if the phase height works like this. So 12 noon, it's up there, and it goes from 0 to 1, just like we would expect it to. And I think this one's also the sine. It goes from negative blah to negative blah, so but it should be the y component right here. Nope, not correct. So the thing is, I actually want to rotate this vector, and then I want to make another rotator, and then I want to rotate it again. Like, I want to lose information. That's what I'm trying to do. So maybe it's rotate the vector once, then rotate the vector again. So like rotate it out, and then rotate it up, and then see how it goes. Alright, so 12. I don't want a fucking rotator. Is there like an actual transform matrix thing here for like... Well, what would be the other way to compute this? It would be... to normalize the x and z's and multiply it by a magnitude or something like that. So to instead of doing our math like we are, we basically just have like an arc width, and then our angle is just interpolating between 0 and 180. And multiplying by our thing, our distance. This is when I don't like working with quaternions, because I want the non-quaternion version of this fucking rotation, but they don't have it. They don't have that, because people would make mistakes. Maybe I can choose my arbitrary axes, like so, like rotate around specific axes, and then we can do it. And it'll do what we want. Maybe I'm just making this harder than it needs to be. This is kind of where my training doesn't really help me out. Because my training is not in gameplay, it's in server engineering, so it's like, yeah. Alright, so if we go back to what we had before. Should go like that. All I really have to do is the height needs to be exponential. So if I just multiply the phase height by itself, so if we multiply it by 2, then this is going to go from the absolute value from, it's going to go from 0 to 1. And we want to multiply it by itself. Well, before we invert it, we need to multiply it by itself. So we need to multiply this by 2. And then multiply it by itself. And then subtract it. And it should be 1.0 minus that value. And then what we can do is we can adjust the angles for what it's supposed to be, because it goes from -15 . Just it's just not wide enough. Alright, so is the rise angle and the height angle available? We've got the rise angle and the height angle are. That is weird that they have different categories even though they're under the same category in the editor. Alright, there we go. So the rise angle and the height angle. The height at which the soon. Alright, so we'll put that at 30. So it kind of goes like that. So that's noon. And that's not what we want. We want like the height angle to be a lot lower, maybe like 8. Wow, we need it even lower. 4? 6? Yeah, so if it goes like that, and we need to have like a horizon line sort of thing, because this is, we're actually, if we pull off way back here, like our world right here is curved downward. So we actually want the sun horizon way down there. So we need to actually take the sun down a bit. We want like a rise min angle. So we'll do rise min height, expose that, and this should be something like -15 or something like that. And basically this height angle, we're going to add it in here. So much math. Too much math. Why? That's one of my issues with blueprints, is this sort of math stuff is a hell of a lot easier to understand when it's just written down in code. But when it's all this like spaghetti numbers, you just kind of lose track of like what the hell's going on. It's just like, where was all this from? You're like, oh, it's the time of day, blah, you know, like, eh. It's kind of nasty. Alright, so let's see. If it's minus 10 here, and our rise angle is maybe... Let's reset it to 15. This is high noon. Alright, so... Maybe the height angle should be higher, like 20? Nah, we want it just peeking in. Maybe 17 degrees. Yeah, okay, that's better. So let's see how that looks if we go from 6.5. Like, we can't see any sun at all, can we? It's down there, though. We just can't see it. Alright, so let's see. At 7 o'clock, would we be able to see the sun? Never. So we can see it just at sunrise? No. Can we see it at 8.5 o'clock? Nah, it's too wide, isn't it? Oh, that's 8:30. Six 6.5. .5 is right there. Interesting. So that's 8 in the morning. So it goes. Well, we need to actually see what this looks like in real time with our actual camera. So what we need to do is basically make our update function for this event tick. And this is our event graph for like setting the world location. We're going to need to change all this stuff. We're going to grab all this crap and throw it into a function. I'm going to copy it, and we're going to do a function which is update shader parameters. So let's paste all this stuff in here. Go to our construction script, delete all this stuff. I mean, we probably don't have to set everything, but we'll see. And we're going to call our update shader parameters. I guess we also need this right in here as part of it. So let's do so. Alright, Alright, so compute time of day and update shader parameters. Alright, so for during our update tick, we're going to do the same thing here with compute time of day and update shader parameters. So we're going to have this time of day advance. We're going to multiply by delta t. Is there a plus equals? Just a plus there. So we're going to get our time of day and we're going to set our time of day after that. So time of day advance, I don't see it. Time of day advance is not exposed. Alright. This is going to be, yeah, okay, good. Alright, so time of day advance, let's say advance 1 hour per second. So let's see how that goes. Well, of course, we went straight back into that. So, yeah. I need to basically while time of day is greater, so like while the condition is going to be time of day greater than 24. We are going to set time of day. Yeah, we're going to subtract. It's going to be time of day. We're going to do subtract. Subtract 24. Kind of, I've never written a loop inside of flowgraph. I mean, blueprint stuff. It's okay. It's not the best thing ever. All right, setting sun, rising, nighttime, nighttime. I'm gonna print out the time of day real quick. Time is alright, let's just look at that. The time is 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 0, 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Alright, well I think that's working as intended in a lot of ways. So we need to get the moonrise and all that stuff in there as well. So let's get that moonrise going. Alright, we got all this math to do, all this stuff. So we'll just organize it just a smidge. Alright, so we're rotating all of our vectors nicely, just like that. Well, I guess we can just copy-paste this stuff and deal with it that way. Let's give ourselves a little bit of room here. Alright, so what we want is time of day minus sunrise. This is going to be more complicated because we have the time of day for night doesn't go from one number to another. It goes from, 7:30 or whatever